Alright, everybody. I know it's been quite a while since I last posted a sports related video, or a video as far as the NFL specifically. And for this one, I'm going to give you my predictions as far as the first round in the 2021 NFL Draft. I did a video like this for the 2020 NFL Draft last year, so I figured why not give it another shot and give you my predictions for this year. So, without further ado, I'm going to try and make this as fast as I most possibly can. And if it drags on for a little while longer than I originally planned, then I apologize. So, that being said, let's move on with the number one overall pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This one is a no-brainer. With the number one overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the quarterback out of Clemson, Trevor Lawrence, he goes to Jacksonville. Again, this is a no-brainer. The Jacksonville Jaguars were pretty much gifted the number one overall pick due to the, how can I say, the incompetence of the New York Jets. But this was a franchise-altering turn of events that even had the mayor of Jacksonville thinking that could this happen? Could this not happen? And I think he went on social media and he actually thanked the New York Jets for allowing them the opportunity to pick up the number one overall pick. So everybody and their mother's got Trevor Lawrence going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. 99.9 3/4% of America even had this. Even around the time the first round of mock drafts were starting to come out, and shortly after the confetti finished falling at Raymond James Stadium after Super Bowl 55 was over. But yeah, long story short, though, the Gardner Minshew II experience was fun, but it's going to come to an end. Gardner Minshew II is a feisty quarterback, but odds are he's gonna be relegated to backup duty. So it's one of two things basically you can predict is going to happen. According to an article, I think it was CBS Sports, Jacksonville's probably going to try and work out a trade deal. Gardner Minshew II is going to get traded somewhere, possibly. I can't see that happening, though. At least that's just me, though. But one of two things happen. Either Gardner Minshew II gets traded somewhere, unless Jacksonville can work out a deal, or he gets put at the number 2 spot on the depth chart. But Trevor Lawrence, he's got everything. He's locked in as the number one overall pick again. The vast majority of America, if you've been watching for longer than 5 minutes, and you know who Trevor Lawrence is, and you know what the record was with the Jacksonville Jaguars last season, you knew this is where he was going to go. He's 6'6.5" tall. He's about 215 pounds. He's got a big arm. He's mobile and he's very accurate. Some would argue this is easily the easiest pick in the draft. So much so that I wasn't actually allowed the formality of even making a first round draft mock draft video a little more than a month ago, because you get ready to make a draft board. Everything changes, and then you go back and forth adjusting this so many times. After a while, you just get confused and you lose track. But Trevor Lawrence, he's going to be the new face of the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise, and the hope that he can be a transformative force will soon fall on his shoulders. But on the other hand, you also have Urban Meyer, who, longtime coach at Ohio State, turned pregame and or postgame college football analyst on Fox, turned head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's going to be ushering in a new era of football in Jacksonville, and with his first move, literally selecting Trevor Lawrence to be your future franchise quarterback for the next decade, this is the way to go. It's got to be. Next up, speaking of the New York Jets, excuse me. This one, I guess you could say, was the second the second easiest pick in the draft, but we shall see. With the New York Jets at number 2, I predict they take Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU. He has improvisational skills to build around, and he has arm talent almost similar to that of the likes of Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, or even one person. One person said he's got the arm talent of Aaron Rodgers. That's high praise being compared to either even Tom Brady or Drew Brees. Saying you have the mobility and or the arm of Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and or Drew Brees, but the Jets made a very foolish decision, in my opinion, beating both the Cleveland Browns and the St. Louis Rams last year. Because had they have lost to those two teams, they would be at the number 1 spot right now. But the Jets have a dilemma on their hands, in my opinion. Do you select the second best quarterback in the draft class, or do you say in hindsight we should have stuck with Sam Darnold? Well, seeing as Sam Darnold ended up going to the Carolina Panthers, and he showed no signs of becoming a franchise quarterback, it was the best option to trade him, in my opinion. Especially given that the New York Jets had to pay a large contract in order to retain him. So Zach Wilson's a smart quarterback. I mean, he's got good arm talent. He combines great accuracy and decision-making skills with the coveted natural playmaking abilities that have led to recent quarterback breakouts around the NFL. But there are reported injury issues and off-the-field concerns with him. I don't know exactly what they are, though, and nor do I really remember. But let's hope those don't come back to bite him and or those don't cause his stock to drop. Number 3, San Francisco 49ers. Again, another quarterback, and again, this is one where 99% of America would say this is a common sense pick, and it's another no-brainer. Justin Fields, quarterback out of Ohio State University. While everyone in the know is insisting that it won't be Justin Fields to San Francisco, in the eyes of some people, this unequivocally is a pick that I would make, though. He would definitely be in my debate for either, maybe even the second overall pick or the number 1 overall pick, but if he were to fall past number 3 and a team is in need of a quarterback, they would be rather and exceptionally lucky in order to get him. Justin Fields was one of the most accurate passers in college football last season. He possesses the athleticism that's going to make him a premier threat in the NFL right from the start. He's a 5-star talent, in my opinion. He offers big play potential in both the passing game and the running game. So, should San Francisco pick him up, which if I didn't think they would, I wouldn't have him here at number 3. But should they be able to pick him up, seize the opportunity, pick him up, go for it. But on the other hand, it also makes you wonder. What do you do with Jimmy Garoppolo? What happens next? What do you do with him? Haven't been really paying much attention to the San Francisco 49ers, but I'd be guessing keep Jimmy Garoppolo. He's your number 1 starting quarterback unless something happens in the regular season or in the preseason as far as injuries, heaven forbid. And then Justin Fields takes over, but that all remains to be seen. But here's what I'm thinking. Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy Garoppolo at number 1 on the depth chart, and then Justin Fields at number 2. So unless, again, something happens to Jimmy Garoppolo, he's gonna ride the bench. Justin Fields is going to be riding the bench. Next up, the number 4 overall pick, I got the Atlanta Falcons. Here I predict they take Kyle Pitts, tight end out of the University of Florida. You could argue and debate the Falcons' needs all day long if you want to, but in my opinion, they should be thankful to be in a position to draft a player the caliber of Kyle Pitts. He's coming off a great season last year, and the thing is, he's only 20 years old, so Should the Falcons decide to pass on drafting a quarterback, which, if you think about it, why would you draft a quarterback when you've already got Matt Ryan? They're going to go with Kyle Pitts. I mean, it's the pick that I would make if I were one of the higher ups in Atlanta. I think Kyle Pitts is going to be a key weapon and a dynamic option for Matt Ryan to use. Every and all attempts to try and help rejuvenate Matt Ryan by upgrading the talent around him. This is the pick that you make if you're the Atlanta Falcons. He's a hybrid tight end. He's incredibly versatile, and he's got big play potential, and he'll provide plenty of production for the Atlanta Falcons. Should they pick him up? Next up at number 5, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. Here, I was kind of at a toss up on this pick, but I think they take Penei Sewell, tackle out of the University of Oregon. I'm thinking to myself, how lucky are the Cincinnati Bengals? They win some meaningless games near the end of the year to seemingly move themselves out of the sweepstakes to get this guy, but there's a decent chance that he's going to be available. Which, should that happen, that's going to be a dream come true for a team that needs to help protect Bayou Joe Burrow. In my opinion, upgrading the offensive line for Cincinnati is a top priority, and Joe Burrow's looking like a potential star in the making. At the same time, I want to say the Cincinnati Bengals signed Riley Reif from the Minnesota Vikings, I want to say. Or was it the Detroit Lions? He was originally drafted by the Minnesota Vikings and then later went to the Detroit Lions in free agency, or the other way around. I don't remember, but I think Riley Reif was drafted by the Detroit Lions, got released, went to the Vikings in free agency, and ended up going to the Bengals in free agency. But anyway, with the Bengals having Riley Reif on their roster now, I don't think that's going to preclude them from selecting Penei Sewell. Plus, at the same time, Riley Reif, he played the role of guard he played the position of guard at the University of Iowa. And I think he said something when he was in the Minnesota Vikings, when he was on their roster. He said, if need be, I'd be willing to move to that position if you need me to do so. So I'll either play guard and or tackle, whatever you need me to play, I'll do it. So, but now you got yourself a little bit of additional help on the offensive line for Joe Burrow to try and help keep him upright. But it's going to be a sight to see. Next up, number 5, I have the. Not number 5. I'm sorry. I have the number 5 on the brain. Number 6, I'm sorry. Yeah, number 6 I have for the Miami Dolphins. Devontae Smith, wide receiver out of the University of Alabama. He's a great route runner. He has great hands, and he's got tremendous run after the catch ability. He's a silky smooth and exceptional route runner with vertical playmaking abilities. And I think if you're in dire need of a wide receiver, if that's your ultimate need right now in the first round, he's one of the many guys that you might want to pick up. And I think Miami makes a good choice as far as taking him, because granted he's only like 160 something pounds. There might be concerns as far as his slight frame, but in my opinion, he's one of the most complete wide receiver prospects to enter the NFL this year. At the same time, he's also coming fresh off of a Heisman Trophy winning season. And if you're the Miami Dolphins, you want to add a playmaker with a pick like this and give Tua Tagovailoa some additional help on the offense, this is the move that you should make. Next up at number 7, I have the Detroit Lions. This was originally a toss-up. I originally had these picks flip-flopped, and then I changed my mind. The Detroit Lions, in my opinion, I predict they go with Jamar Chase, wide receiver out of LSU. As we all know, Matthew Stafford was traded to the St. Louis Rams in exchange for Jared Goff. But I don't think the Detroit Lions are going to go after a quarterback because they're likely to give Jared Goff a try just for 1 year and then see what happens in 2022. But Detroit's going to be focusing on their bigger issues, including receivers, and I think wide receiver is one of the many key positions that they need right now. Marvin Jones Jr. is gone. Kenny Golladay is gone. I think Kenny Golladay went to the New York Giants, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember where Marvin Jones Jr. went, but that's another story for another time. So the Detroit Lions are going to need 2 receivers, and I think Jamar Chase is he's a quintessential solution for the offensive line in Detroit, at least in terms of the receiving core. Because in his freshman year, he caught 17 passes, and after that, he took a big step forward in the 2019-2020 season, displaying the ability of a top 10 prospect, and he's gonna develop into a standout performer no matter who picks him. Look for him on Mondays, Thursdays, Sundays, and or depending on what team picks him and they make the playoffs, Saturdays. So Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and or Saturday, keep an eye out for him. I think he's going to surprise some people. Next up, number 8, the Carolina Panthers. This one was tough. I predict they take Rashad Slater, tackle out of Northwestern University. The Carolina Panthers are looking to give Sam Darnold and or Teddy Bridgewater every opportunity to be the number 1 quarterback for the long term, and at the same time they also want to beef up the protection around them. And I think the Carolina Panthers need to address the offensive line, so Rashad Slater could be the key pick in the first round. They might go for the same position and or something similar to it in the second round. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but use this opportunity to get Teddy Bridgewater or Sam Darnold, more so Teddy Bridgewater, I would assume, a new blindside protector. Excuse me. Rashad Slater played both left tackle and right tackle when he was in college, and he excels in true pass sets. At the same time, he's also shown steady growth throughout his college career, so prospects don't come any better than this one, and whenever he's needed the most, he's able to step up and prove that, be it on either side of the line, the left or the right, as far as a tackle, he can do it. Number 9, I have J.C. Horn, a cornerback out of the University of South Carolina, going to the Denver Broncos. J.C. Horn was the son of former New Orleans Saints wide receiver Joe Horn. I remember watching him play as if it was yesterday. He was a great player. But anyway, J.C. Horn is a fast, fluid athlete, and if you want any additional proof than that, don't take my word for it. Look at his 40-yard dash time. He ran a 4.38, I believe. He's 6 foot, 1.5 inches tall, and he has what it's going to take to try and break up passes. And Vic Fangio, the way I see it, he knows the Broncos need a talented secondary in order to contain the high-powered offenses within the division. And J.C. Horn is the best pure man-to-man cover corner in the draft. Look out for him to be a key player in Vic Fangio's defense. Should he end up going to Denver, that is. Number 10, I have one of the many picks I've been looking all day long to finally talk about. The Dallas Cowboys. I predict they take a corner as well. I'm going with Patrick Surtain II out of Alabama. Dallas is tempted to upgrade their offensive line, but on the other hand, I also suspect that they're going to target a potential shutdown corner instead in order to try and help out a woeful pass defense. in a situation like this, you need a polished technician that would perfectly fit in an area of need. And for the Cowboys, though, after a run on offensive players to start the draft, this would be the moment right here. He's a heavy favorite to be, if not one of the first corners off the board, and maybe the second. Some are saying he's going to be the first to go off the board. I think he's going to be the second. And at the same time, some people were saying he's an odds-on favorite to be the very first defensive player that ends up going. So, maybe that changes, maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but again, I think J.C. Horn goes before he does, and then Patrick Surtain the second ends up going. So anyway, given the expected setup of the top 10, he's clearly, in my opinion, the best pick for the Dallas Cowboys. And at the same time, should he go to the Cowboys, he'll have his former teammate Trayvon Diggs in order to help give the Cowboys an intriguing tandem on the outside. For those who don't know, he's the son of former cornerback for the Miami Dolphins, Patrick Surtain Sr. So, like father, like son, both played the same position, and they're looking to they both look to make their respective marks in the NFL. And Patrick II was tested early by teams, and at the same time when he was in college, he was able to punish opponents for doing so. He's 6'2". He's 6'2", and a top 15 pick of the future, in my opinion. This is the opportunity to live up to that potential there. So, if he goes to New York, I'm sorry, if he goes to Dallas, New York is next. If he goes to the Dallas Cowboys, that'll make me happy. But we won't know until tomorrow night. Next up, number 11 for the New York Giants, I have Jalen Waddle, wide receiver out of the University of Alabama. The New York Giants' offense hasn't been the same since the trading of Odell Beckham Jr. to the Cleveland Browns and the retirement of Eli Manning. Jalen Waddle gives the New York Giants an explosive weapon to round out a revamped wide receiver core. The Giants did sign Kenny Golladay. Anyway, the Giants are still looking to add a receiver early in the draft, and I think Jalen Waddle is the guy for the job. He's 179 pounds. He's 5'10.5" tall, and the New York Giants they're not going to get a blue chip player unless one of the receivers falls to them. And with 5 quarterbacks possibly being drafted in the top 11, according to some people, there's a slight chance that that's going to happen. In the case that I present, however, they would be somehow lucky enough to maybe land one of the most dynamic threats in the draft class this year. And Jalen Waddle is next up, at number 12, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they go with Kwity Paye, defensive lineman out of the University of Michigan. You talk about a guy who's rather versatile. He's 274.5 pounds, and he's 6'4.5" tall. Excuse me. The Eagles' defense is at best. They've been at its best when they rolled 7 pass rushers deep, and I think Kwity Paye would add to that rotation and give them positional flexibility to always be a threat in obvious rushing situations. But on the other hand, you also have to look at the likes of Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, for example, because they're not getting any younger. Maybe he takes over for one of them one day, but that remains to be seen. Number 13, I have the San Diego Chargers. I predict they take an offensive lineman out of the University of South Carolina, or University of Southern California, I'm sorry. South Carolina on the brain, and I don't know why. Anyway, Elijah Vera Tucker, offensive lineman, University of Southern California. He's 6'5.5" tall, approximately 300 pounds, and he's aligned himself predominantly at left tackle last year with the offense of the USC Trojans. He's got exceptional athleticism, as evidenced by his balance and body control in passing sets. But he's also an easy mover who demonstrates his athleticism in the passing game, particularly in the kick slide. He plays with very competitive spirit when bull rushed. Excuse me. And in the running game, he comes off the ball hard to strike and excel by getting his body in favorable positions. I think this past season he played at left tackle, which afforded him much more value due to his ability to play that position in a pinch. But long story short, though, the San Diego Chargers need to protect Justin Herbert as much as possible. And they have a huge hole at left tackle that needs to be addressed. And in my opinion, I think Elijah Vera Tucker is just the candidate for the job. He made a great decision in order to opt back into the season, into the college football season, even throughout the midst of the pandemic. He played extremely well at left tackle, though. I mean, he might not have the length of a top tier tackle, but he puts up the he put up the tape of a top tier tackle this past season. Again, he's versatile. He's a versatile product out of USC. He shores up a big weakness for the Chargers as an athletic interior blocker, and he's got the ability to maybe play another position if need be. And I think a player like him, a zone blocking scheme would best suit his skill set, but on the other hand, he's athletic enough to adapt to any scheme, and he seems like a nice interior fit. Next up at number 14, excuse me again, I got, for the Minnesota Vikings, I have Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. Where was I? 6'5.5" tall, 315 pounds, and he gives physical blocker an all-new meaning. I think he would complete the Vikings' offensive line overhaul during the offseason. He's a real people mover in the running game, in addition to being a solid pass protector. He would give the Vikings a chance to improve from being one of the league's worst offensive lines to one of the best in 2021, maybe a top 10 or a top 15. He had an amazing 2020 season, propelling himself into first-round consideration, and I can understand why. So look up footage of him on YouTube, or if you're able to find a full-length game that people are able to post on YouTube, try and find one. Try and find one with him on YouTube or anything else like that, and you'll see what I mean. He's a plug-and-play prospect with potential to possibly go to a Pro Bowl. Maybe he goes to the Pro Bowl his rookie year, but we'll see. Number 15, I have a surprise with this pick. This is going to cause some controversy amongst some people, but here it goes. With the New England Patriots at number 15, I predict they take Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama. He's a distributor with the intelligence and managerial skills needed to win games from the pocket. Something tells me that the Patriots exhibit some patience here, and they still manage to get a first-round quarterback. And if you think about it, one scenario is that he competes with Cam Newton in year one, and he maybe takes over in year two. Say the Cam Newton experience doesn't work out. He's a good fit to spread the ball around to a plethora of playmakers that New England invested in the offseason. At the same time, you look at Julian Edelman retiring, for example. Can you imagine, had Julian Edelman not have retired, Julian Edelman and Mac Jones working together on, as far as various plays in either training camp and or the preseason? One of the many what-ifs that unfortunately we'll never have an answer to. As far as negatively graded throws amongst recent NFL prospects, he has the second lowest percentage, which should work well with the Patriots offense. I don't remember what the percentage is, but I sum it up to this. He's pretty darn good. So, if that's what they say and that's who the Patriots have in mind, then I say go for it. Anyway, number 16 with the Arizona Cardinals, I have them taking Zaven Collins, defensive end out of the University of Tulsa. The Arizona Cardinals had major issues on the defensive end, and defeating quarterbacks the likes of Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, and Jimmy Garoppolo. That's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult if the Arizona Cardinals can't generate a great pass rush or cover the middle of the field, and I think Zaven Collins can do just that very thing. He's a big-bodied linebacker. He offers the kind of versatility that Cliff Kingsbury is coveting on the second level of his defense, and he appears to be just the right fit at 262 pounds and 6 feet 5 inches tall. So this next pick I was kind of tempted to flip-flop on as well, but here we are. Number 17 with the Oakland Raiders. This is going to be a fun one. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, outside linebacker out of the University of Notre Dame. In my opinion, the Oakland Raiders need an infusion of athleticism and playmaking ability on the second level. And Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, he's a fast linebacker and a sideline-to-sideline defender with instinct, big hit ability, and speed. I'm not saying because of this the Raiders are going to be in contention for a Super Bowl window, but the way I see it, the closest the Oakland Raiders will ever get to a Lombardi Trophy in 2021 is if they bet some futures in the Bellagio, but that's not going to be happening anytime soon either. Darren Waller at tight end and Derek Carr at quarterback, they're the team's two best players right now. But neither one of them are going to be enough to carry a no-name defensive roster learning a new system under Gus Bradley. So that doesn't even cover the team's holes along the offensive line and our young receiving core that lacks polish or even any level of consistent success either. He's not your traditional linebacker, though, and I think he would be immediately one of the shiftiest and quickest guys in the game, and with very few problems, especially following a tight end or a running back, for example. But on the other hand, he could also probably man up with an average slot receiver in the NFL, and despite his slight frame of 6 feet 2.5 inches tall and 213 pounds. His explosiveness overall allows him to produce in the run defense, and I think seeing a Golden Domer wearing the silver and black, especially a player the caliber of him, I wouldn't mind seeing that at all, actually. Number 18, I got the Miami Dolphins again. Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. If Miami needs a difference maker on the defensive side of the ball to close the gap on the AFC West, this is the opportunity for them. Parsons is one of the best defenders in the draft right now, and with sideline-to-sideline playmaking ability and explosive pass rushing skills, he's capable of just that very thing, covering running backs and tight ends, much like what Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is. But I think, especially with the scheme that the Miami Dolphins have as far as their defense, he'll fit just fine. Number 19, I have the Washington Redskins. Excuse me. Number 19, I predict the Washington Redskins select Rashad Bateman, wide receiver out of the University of Minnesota. With all the top quarterback prospects that are getting picked up right now, Bateman might not have, he might not have that one superior athletic trait as other top wideouts in the class do, but he's an NFL-ready route runner, and at 6'2" and 210 pounds, he has few flaws within his game. Working primarily in the slot in 2020 and during his college season or his senior year of college, and but before catching COVID-19, I don't remember when it was, but he was diagnosed with COVID-19 and he lost 10 pounds. So, one way or the other, he was still able to keep in good game shape. So good for him. Especially right now, as far as the Redskins go, they signed Ryan Fitzpatrick. more so because Alex Smith retired. He was mainly as a replacement for Alex Smith due to retirement. And Dwayne Haskins Jr. getting released and getting picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Harvard Houdini, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he can get another key receiving weapon to help round out a formidable trio with Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin. So you have the three-headed monster, I'll say, a wide receiver with Curtis Samuel, Rashad Bateman, and Terry McLaurin. That might do dividends for the Redskins as far as the offensive side of things, but it's going to be interesting should Rashad Bateman go there. I think he'll fit in just fine with the Redskins. And now we come quite possibly to the ultimate pick right here. Number 20, the Chicago Bears. I'm going to probably surprise a few more people with this one. You probably never would have expected this pick to happen, but here it goes. I think the Chicago Bears select Gregory Rousseau, defensive end out of the University of Miami, Florida. He's 6 foot 7.5 inches tall. He's 267 pounds, and he's a standout at the University of Miami. He's an intriguing pass rusher with the length and athleticism to help give blockers problems off the edge and on the inside. He's a natural quarterback hunter who's got a good skill set to go along with a nose for a signal caller. And he's an instinctive edge rusher that shows an excellent ability to help read and react. With good feel and vision, he adjusts to the quarterback to chase him down as he moves in the pocket. Excuse me, especially in the 2019-2020 season. It was rather impressive to see him move despite being a young player. He literally keeps his eyes on the quarterback while working through blocks and executing moves in order to shed blocks. But he was a very advanced rusher for a young player with intelligence beyond his years. And from a physical standpoint, though, he has a very good skill set. He has a quick first step and a burst to close in on the quarterback, but while he's not a blazing fast, lightning quick edge rusher like Von Miller is from the Denver Broncos, he's quick, and when he works himself free, he finishes the rush in a hurry. He has good size with some functional strength and length, which could make it difficult for an offensive lineman to sustain a block. Excuse me, but he's a solid run defender. He's not stiff. He's agile. He's versatile for either a 3-4 or a 4-3 defense. And in 2015, that's what the Chicago Bears did with their defense. In 2015, under John Fox, we went from a 4-3 defense to a 3-4, and we've been in a 3-4 for the last going on 6 years now. But anyway, he has good vision. He adjusts well to moving quarterbacks. He has a quick first step. He has speed to get around the corner, and he has the ability to use his hands and his feet at the same time. And his hands are active, man. I mean, he's quite the talent. But on the other hand, he also has the makings of pass rushing moves, and he's able to bull rush. So I think if one of the many key things that the Bears need help on is the defensive line, I think Gregory Rousseau literally fits the mold. And as far as the draft, going back to the 2014 NFL draft, since then I've literally heard everybody say, if you're a Chicago Bears fan, you need help everywhere. Wide receiver, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, groundskeeper at Soldier Field, top guy who deals with the concession stands as far as beer and or food. Literally, you name the position, the Bears need help. And here I am 7 years later, and I'm still hearing people say the Chicago Bears need help at every single position, regardless of what it is. Speaking of getting help at every and any and all positions, that leads me to number 21. With the 21st overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, that leads me to the Indianapolis Colts. I predict they take another defensive end out of the University of Miami, Florida, Jalen Phillips. The Indianapolis Colts have to generate pressure with a four-man rush to effectively run the version of the Tampa 2 by, forgive me if I mess his name up, but the defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, or Eberflus, however you say his name, Eberflus. I can't pronounce his last name. But the defensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts, I'll just call him that for right now. Indianapolis lost some defensive linemen this offseason, so I think they could stand to upgrade their pass rush in order to beat Patrick Mahomes Jr. in the playoffs, should they come across him again by then. Jalen Phillips is he's one of the all-around best edge rushers in the draft class this year, in my opinion. And at the same time, he's also a skilled technician with a polished game and a non-stop motor. He's always going, and I think that's going to be key, especially if you're looking for a player of his size, his speed, and his abilities. Pick him up while you still can, because you might not be able to later on. The 22nd overall pick, I have the Tennessee Titans. I predict they take a wide receiver out of the University of Florida by the name of Kadarius Toney. The Tennessee Titans let Corey Davis go to the New York. They let him go. I'm sorry. They lost Corey Davis to the New York Jets in the offseason. But on the other hand, I think they needed a better wide receiver anyway to pair with A.J. Brown. And I think Kadarius Toney has the big-time playmaking ability to make the roster. He's 5'11", He's 5'11" and a half inches tall and about 189 pounds, but on the other hand, he also has an injury history. He's also a slot talent who competes like a bigger player, a player bigger than his listed size. He's, for want of a better comparison and or choice of words, like the underdog, so to say. He's one of the smallest or shortest guys on the roster, yet he's not afraid to step up to the taller guys that he's going up against. Like, what's an example? Like Bob Cousy from the Boston Celtics, or Rey Mysterio from pro wrestling. as far as height, heart, and size. I mean, those are some of the best comparisons that I can make as far as Kadarius Toney. He's like he's like the Rey Mysterio, so to say, of wide receivers. Again, he's only 5'11", 5'10", however, and about 180 something pounds. But he's overcome injuries throughout his college career, and at the same time, that also helped cap his production up until the 2020-2021 NFL college football season. I'm sorry, when it finally clicked for the entire offense. His routes can look more like one-on-one isolation basketball moves at times, but at the same time, he also has the ability to make instant cuts and break routes off sharply. He could become a much more creative and consistent route runner in due time, but he's the atypical slot receiver for the NFL in some ways, and he's likely to do his best in a scheme that allows him plenty of run after the catch opportunities. He might need some more polish, but on the other hand, he's going to contribute right away as a receiver and maybe even a punt returner. I think if Mike Vrabel has something worked out to where the Tennessee Titans draft him, I can already imagine what plays and or scenarios that he's got going on for him. So, number 23, back to the New York Jets. I predict the New York Jets with the 23rd overall pick. They take Caleb Farley, out of Virginia Tech. He's a cornerback. There's some risk to having him on the team, though, given his injury concerns. But on the other hand, the Jets have a huge need at comeback or a cornerback, and I think healthy Caleb Farley might be the best in the class. He has the movement skills and the length to play press or off coverage, which is a good mix for the Jets' new defensive scheme. And in order for the Jets to defeat both the Dolphins, the Bills, and or even the Patriots, all three have very talented receivers, the Jets don't have the cornerbacks to help cover those wideouts at the moment, and I think this is one of the few that they can pick up. Caleb Farley opted out of the 2020-2021 season due to the COVID-19. But he's got a high upside with nice size and good speed. Again, he has some injury concerns that could probably cause his stock to drop, but at this juncture, he's a nice value pick. At this point, I'll take anything I can get is what I would be thinking and saying if I was the New York Jets. I think one of his issues was a back injury. So that's one of the few things, again, that might cause his stock to drop on draft night. But I think the Jets could try and cushion that fall one way or another. Adding a steady cover corner with a diverse game and ball hawk skills would definitely solidify the defensive lineup. Next up, number 24, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I predict they take Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama. The Pittsburgh Steelers losing James Conner was a real blow. But on the other hand, I don't think that's going to prevent the Steelers from attempting to upgrade their backfield with a hybrid playmaker. The Pittsburgh Steelers want to have a smash mouth, hit them hard, hit them fast, do everything you can to go through the defensive line, running back. And can you blame them? I definitely can't. I mean, no offense to the Pittsburgh Steelers and their fan base, but they had no running game to speak of last year, and I think Najee Harris would obviously change things around. Although the rest of the offensive line for a good portion of it is in need of a major overhaul also. Najee Harris was one of the top recruits in the country back in 2017, and during his freshman year in college, he showed off his talents, and he's been tremendous ever since. There's no doubt that he's got the ability to be an impactful NFL running back with the skill set of a three-down starter. Especially with his size and quickness that lets him run over tacklers, but he also retains the speed in order to hit the hole, and he's got a strong build, and he's difficult to bring down. I mean, you would need a brick wall in the 82nd Airborne in order to take him down. That's how tough he is. He can power through tackles and bounce off defenders in order to continue to gain yards. He's a very good contact balance as well, and he runs behind the pads with a nice knee bend. I mean, in short yardage situations, though, he's an asset because he can push the pile all on his own, and he keeps the legs going after contact. And he possesses a powerful lower body that's tough to stop. But in an open field, though, he can rip off huge yards and chunks, threatening to turn an ordinary carry into even more yards than even anyone else predicted, thanks to the speed and the speed to burst to the second level, and also his cutting ability and quick feet to weave through the defense. So, a bunch of people who I'm subscribed to on YouTube and also follow on Instagram, they're Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and some of them are in agreement as far as selecting Najee Harris. I think that would be a good pick. Do what you can to help bolster the offensive line, and if Najee Harris is the best available option, then take it. With the 25th overall pick, I'm back to Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville takes Christian Barmore, defensive tackle out of Alabama. Jacksonville's defense has been in a major decline over the last couple of years, and a part of that reason was the departure of Calais Campbell, who could possibly be replaced with this selection. Building up the middle of the defense is a top priority for Jacksonville, and I think a beefy defensive tackle would spark improved production against the run. And Barmore he's got nice length, he's very athletic, and he's quick too. I don't think I've ever seen a guy his size move as fast as anyone else has, but again, there have been so many others I've watched like him, I literally can't even remember who they even are. So many players have come and gone that fit his skill set that it's amazing. Next up, at number 26, I have the Cleveland Browns. With the 26th overall pick, I think the Cleveland Browns take Joe Tryon, cornerback out of the University of Washington. Cleveland's focusing on defense this offseason, most recently with the signing of Jadeveon Clowney, which was a big signing, if you ask me. The former number 1 overall pick should provide a boost to the Browns' front, but he's more of a run stopper than a sack artist. So I think Cleveland's going to try and add a promising edge rusher to the rotation. And the NFL having an insatiable desire for edge defenders nowadays who can go after the quarterback. It's a sight to see these days, and I think a player like Joe Tryon should be in high demand. But as a pass rusher, though, he's got the talent for the next level and a good combination of height, length, and speed. He also displays a good get off and go, fire off the ball in order to get upfield, do what you can in order to make a play. That type of ability. He also shows active hands and is skilled at using them, both his hands and his feet at the same time while keeping his eyes on the quarterback. He has a nice variety of pass rushing moves as well, especially using an arm over and a spin move. He sets up tackles well in order to cut to the inside or the outside. He thrives off of space, and when he gets free, he flashes real pursuit skills with his speed to close in on you quickly. And when he gets blockers' hands off of him and finds a crease, quarterbacks are in real trouble. But I think Joe Tryon's going to give a good second effort and play with a quality motor as far as with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, he's going to show Cleveland what he's truly made of. Should he go there, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what he did at the University of Washington. See a carry over here to the NFL. Next up, number 27, I have the Baltimore Ravens. I originally had them taking Terrace Marshall Jr. out of LSU, a wide receiver. I originally had that predicted, but then I thought, no, I don't think that's going to work, so. This one might surprise some people as well. I'm going to go with Aziz Ogilari, defensive end out of the University of Georgia. In my opinion, he's the best all-around edge rusher in the class, second to Gregory, Rousseau, and Jalen Phillips. He's committed, he's physical against the run, and he goes after the passer very well. And at the same time, this is also because, in my opinion, replacing Matthew Judon with an explosive pass rusher that possesses A-plus athleticism is at the top of Eric DeCosta's to-do list. The Baltimore Ravens ended up losing Yannick Ngakoue and Matthew Judon, so I imagine they're going to be considering a pass rusher in the first couple of rounds. But as a pass rusher, though, Aziz is a mixed bag, though. He's got some good traits that lead to him getting to a quarterback, and at the same time, he also faces significant limitations for the NFL. On the negative side, he's not a pure speed demon off the edge who has the explosiveness to run by the offensive tackles, but I think that can change, especially during training camp and keeping in shape. Some people say he lacks pass rushing moves, but I don't really think so, and he can struggle to get off the blocks at times. But Aziz Ojulari has the arm length in order to keep tackles away from him, and when they get into his chest and lock onto him, he can really struggle to get free of blockers. His undersized height and his length come into effect here, though, and getting off blocks is going to be an issue against some NFL offensive tackles. But on the plus side, though, as a pass rusher, he plays really tough, really hard. He's physical, he's fast, and he's got some functional strength with an ability to close when he runs free. He's got a great motor. He doesn't quit on plays with a relentless attitude, and coming from a player who's 245 pounds and 6 foot 4.5 inches tall, he's got great potential. But on the other hand, some people say he doesn't appear ready to play in the NFL just yet, and that he should have returned to school for another year. I don't think so, though. I think with a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, and a little bit of extra training, he'll mold into one of the greatest players that Baltimore's picked up in recent memory. Speaking of great players, I'm going to go with another defensive tackle and another player from the University of Washington. At the 28th overall pick, I have the New Orleans Saints. I predict they take have trouble pronouncing his name, but I apologize. Levi Onwuzurike out of Washington. Yeah, Onwuzurike, I think is how you pronounce his name. But anyway. The New Orleans Saints need to find a pass rusher in order to fill the void that was created by the departures of Trey Hendrickson and Sheldon Rankins. Sheldon Richardson played for the Cleveland Browns, I believe. I got the first name right at least. But anyway, Levi Onwuzurike has the size, the length, and the hand skills in order to help create problems from the interior. He's 297.5 pounds. He's 6 foot 4.5 inches tall, and he literally fits the mold for one of the needs that the Saints need on defense. Next up, the number 29 here. Yeah, the 29th overall pick. Excuse me, I'm trying to follow my notes here as best I can, and I think I messed up somewhere. Sorry. Yeah, here we go. The 29th overall pick, I have the Green Bay Packers. I predict they take Jalen Mayfield, offensive tackle out of the University of Michigan. Green Bay's lack of depth on the front line was exposed during the playoffs last season, and Mayfield's a natural right tackle with the potential to play either outside or inside. You know, he's athletic. He's 322 pounds and 6 foot 6.5 inches tall, and he's got the potential to line up on either the left side of the line or the right side of the line. And he starts out with a wide base. He bends his knees and he keeps his head on the figurative swivel. So he's always on the lookout for something. He possesses outstanding blocking vision. He moves well on his feet, and he plays technically sound football. At the same time, he also makes good use of angles, blocks with leverage, and he swears into his opponents, riding them from their angle of attack. He's strong. He's an anchor in pass protection, and he seals defenders from action. But on the other hand, he also keeps his feet moving, and he displays solid footwork while in space. He's an explosive talent, and he shows the ability to both adjust and redirect, especially when he places his hands into opponents and causes them to move off the line. He blocks down well. He overtakes his opponents, and he's, how can I say, the figurative force to be reckoned with. Yeah, to use the words of the video game character Duke Nukem, this is a force to be reckoned with. And I think Jalen Mayfield is just that for Green Bay. If you need help to bolster the offensive line and hold things down, get an offensive tackle, and I think he's the guy for the job. Excuse me. At number 30, I have the Buffalo Bills. I think they take Rondale Moore out of Purdue. He's a wide receiver. He's 179 pounds, 6 foot 7.5 inches tall, and I look at this mainly because strengthening is strength. I mean, Josh Allen's breakout season came with a much improved wide receiver core, and that shouldn't have been a surprise to anybody. But if you think about it, Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders aren't long-term options, though, for Buffalo. Cole Beasley's injury hurt the Bills last year. I don't even remember what the injury was. I think it was a hamstring or something. But Rondale Moore is a physical specimen. He can win all over the field, and he's the most valuable player remaining, if not one of them. He's a playmaking receiver, which will definitely help out in Buffalo's favor should they take him. He's a good reverse runner. He's a return specialist, and he's an overall threat to take it the distance anytime the ball's in his hands. The initial quickness that he shows the first 2 or 4 yards down the field is when the ball's in his hands is unparalleled, and it has his opponents playing back on their heels. You know, they're trying to give chase, and it's like, wait, they're like, wait a minute, where did he go? And by the time they finally realize where he went, he's already taken it to the house. He lacks growth potential, and he's size deficient, which could probably be issues at the pro level. But in a proper system like Buffalo's, for example, I think he'll make an outstanding skill player. He displays tremendous initial quickness with a burst. He has he kicks it into high gear when given the chance and nobody around him. He runs away from defenders in an open field. He's explosive, and He's a great game-breaking skill player who can score from any point on the field when the ball is thrown to him. But on the other hand, he also lets the passes get inside him on occasions. He's not a stout receiver, and he often finishes plays by running out of bounds. So, with a little bit of work, effort, and time, I think he can. Work on and improve that. Next up, number 31, the 31st overall pick. It would have originally gone to the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Baltimore Ravens ended up getting this one. The Baltimore Ravens ended up. Not the Baltimore Ravens, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was the Kansas City Chiefs. They had the 31st overall pick, and they traded it to the Ravens. I think they take Sam Cosmi, offensive tackle out of the University of Texas. Again, Baltimore is looking to replace the recently traded Orlando Brown Jr., who coincidentally went to the Chiefs. The Baltimore Ravens ended up trading Orlando Brown Jr. to the Kansas City Chiefs in exchange for their first-round pick. And Orlando Brown Jr. was a good right tackle for the Baltimore Ravens, but moving him had more to do with the fact that he wanted to play on the left side of the line, and therefore was unlikely to sign a long-term deal in Baltimore. So I think Sam Cosmi is going to come in and start on the right side of the line should Baltimore pick him up. And I think this will give the Ravens that kind of stability that they covet at tackle. He's 310 pounds. He's 310 pounds, and his height's 6 feet 7.5 inches tall. He possesses above average athleticism, and he's able to overcompensate and get away with the current technical flaws that he has. But he's going to need some seasoning as a pass protector, as he needs to gain strength as well as refining the lower half of his body. Frequently leaving his hips parallel to the sideline, and the over-reliance on out-athleting his opponents. That's going to be a habit that needs to be eliminated. Don't try to outdo the other guy just because you think you're gonna take him out and it's gonna be really easily. Don't be like that. One of these other flaws is leverage, though. That might continue to be worked on or work against him, as he has tendencies to play sky high, and it results in defenders being able to get underneath on him. But he's an athletic offensive tackle that has many ingredients that are already present, but on the other hand, he also needs the proper coaching in order to blend everything together and possibly add more in order to reach the final state of his career. And lastly, I have the newly crowned Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with the 32nd overall pick. I predict they take Trevon, however you say his name. I think it's Trevon Moehrig, safety out of Texas Christian University. The draft couldn't have fallen any better for the Buccaneers here, in my opinion, with this guy being available. Jordan Whitehead is entering a contract year, and he's one of the team's few starters who doesn't frequently play at an above-average level. But Trevon Moehrig hits just as hard as Whitehead does, and I think he could immediately put the veteran starting spot in jeopardy, though. Given his explosiveness and experience in the slot, he could also be featured exclusively in a big dime and or a big nickel package, if he isn't already prepped up for a true starting role. But this makes this a safer pick than usual, in my opinion, but on the other hand, it also has a ton of upside. He's a ball-hawking safety that would add another versatile defender to the roster. He's 202 pounds. He's 6 foot 2.5 inches tall, and at the same time, he could possibly even team up with Antoine Winfield Jr. in order to give the Buccaneers a solid safety tandem to help protect the middle of the field. But that's really about it, guys. I don't really know what else to say and or who else to have possibly say, this guy is going to go to that team. I originally had this person going to that team, or that person trading up or down. I wasn't going to do that, because who's going to trade down and or trade up, you never know. So I just went straight down the line with the draft order that I was given. So that being said, let me know what you guys think. Give me your predictions as far as who you think is going to go where in the first round. Give the video a thumbs up, post a comment, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram if you aren't already. Again, subscribe to my YouTube page if you haven't already. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see what all unfolds tomorrow night in the first round. And on Friday night during the second round, so usually a bunch of surprises happen in the first round. Maybe, just maybe, we'll see even more, or maybe not as many in the second round, but be that as it may. That does it for my prediction for the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft. I will talk to you guys later. Have a good night, and again, continue to show support for my channel. Continue to show support for my channel. Give a thumbs up on my videos. Follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to my YouTube page. Spread the word. Let me know what you guys think, and I will talk to you guys later. In the meantime, have a good night, and whatever NFL team or teams that you like and follow, I'll see what all unfolds tomorrow night, and that does it for me. I am out. Have a good one.